By the morning of May 8th, preparations for the voyage aboard the St. Louis had developed a steady momentum. The liner was held to the shore fore and aft by hawsers as thick as a man's leg. 575 feet long, it was streamlined with a tapering stern and raked bow. Black hull and white superstructure topped with twin black, red, and white smokestacks. 5 of her decks reared above the waterline. 3, filled with machinery, storage tanks, and compartments, plunged deep below the surface. The crew of 231 prepared to cook, scrub, clean, polish, entertain, fetch and carry, and meet the whims of both ship and passengers. On that Monday morning, the crew had been assembled once more in the social hall to be addressed by the captain, standing on the dance band podium. Gustav Schroeder was brief. The slightest lapse in standards, any hint of discrimination, the briefest sign of resentment toward the refugees, would be swiftly punished. You will all never forget for a moment that these passengers are to be treated no differently from any others we have carried, he concluded. Schroeder walked briskly from the room, followed by Ostermeyer, the first officer, and Muller, the purser. Aware of the silence, sensing the hostility on some faces. When the trio reached the captain's day cabin, Schroeder gave way to his own feelings. In spite of his warning to the crew, he knew that as far as Hapag head office was concerned, the refugees were not to be treated as other voyagers. That morning, Hapag House informed him that there would be cheaper cuts of meat, that the ship's shop must lock away its usual range of expensive cameras, binoculars, and perfumes, replacing them with shoddier goods. The economies extended everywhere. The ship's hairdressing salon was to remove its excellent range of cosmetics, the bars were to lock away a variety of drinks. There were not even to be writing pads, pencils, and free postcards in the public rooms. After reading out the long list of banned goods and their replacements, it extended even to the quality of toilet paper. Gustav Schroeder made a major decision. Wherever possible, the orders were to be ignored. The purser was told to ensure that the ship was adequately and properly supplied. Schroeder did not care how it was done. Just do it, and do it well. Ferdinand Müller, the ship's equivalent of a hotel manager, was a kind man, devoted to the job of keeping passengers happy. His secret, which he constantly impressed upon stewards and cabin staff, was to take pains over those they served. He himself set an excellent example in his attentiveness, respect, and keeping a proper distance. After 25 years at sea, he believed he had refined it to an art. Now Gustav Schroeder had given Müller the opportunity to show another of his qualities, the ability to scrounge and juggle with waybills. The purser set off to show that when it came to such things, there was none better on the Hapag payroll. Alone with Ostermeyer, Schroeder confided his private feelings about the voyage. It was not only the crew's attitude that concerned him, but the attitude of the passengers as well. They had been subjected to years of tyranny, and now would find themselves in a position in which they could give the orders. When the initial shock of that wore off, if they went too far in their demands, and they both knew, Schroeder added, how demanding passengers could be, there were bound to be repercussions. And then, Schroeder remarked, we will be a floating time bomb. For the rest of the morning, the 2 senior officers on board discussed ways and means of avoiding that crisis. Their relationship was a close and cordial one. Despite their age difference, the captain was 20 years the senior of his first officer, and their outward dissimilarity. Ostermeyer towered over Schroeder by many inches, and was close to 80 pounds heavier. He had an urge for social life that the captain had no desire to match. Schroeder was more interested in the collection of books on ornithology that he kept in his cabin and in his campaign for bodily fitness. It had become a running joke between them that Ostermeyer's physical exertions did not go much beyond uncorking a wine bottle. Their friendship drew its strength not from habits shared, but from a common interest in seamanship and serving passengers. By the end of the morning, Gustav Schroeder had decided how best to serve the refugees. He would, he told Ostermeyer, remain aloof from the passengers, taking, as he put it, the view from the bridge on how the voyage develops. The effective day-to-day running of the St. Louis would now be in the hands of the first officer. It was the captain's first mistake, not because Ostermeyer was incapable of such responsibility, but because he had miscalculated that the view from the bridge would provide access into every corner of the St. Louis. He thought he could spot trouble from above. He was wrong. In London, the director of the Intergovernmental Committee on Political Refugees, Sir Herbert Emerson, carefully prepared the ground for a move which he hoped would halt the voyage. He had studied the reports from Cuba and elsewhere, analyzing them with the calm, unemotional mind which made some refugee organizations feel Emerson was a hard, inflexible man who would never let sentiment sway him. Then he acted. Emerson's telegram was delivered the afternoon of May 8 to Klaus Gottfried Holthusen, the Hapag director, who had previously briefed Schroeder. It read, "I am informed that it is contemplated to send 900 refugees to Cuba by your steamer St. Louis, sailing on May 13th. I understand that great difficulties are likely to arise in regard to their entry into Cuba, and I strongly advise that the refugees should not be sent there." Holthusen was disturbed by the telegram. Although he had never met Emerson, he knew the Englishman was in a position to make his views known even to the Führer himself. The shipping director had immediately sent a priority cable to the Hapag office in Havana asking for clarification of the situation. There, Robert Hoffman, the Abwehr agent who doubled as assistant manager and with whom Schindig planned to rendezvous, discussed it with his immediate superior, Louis Classing. Holthusen received the reply the next morning. It stated that Hapag, Havana, had the personal guarantee of the Cuban Director of Immigration that the St. Louis faced no difficulties. Holthusen, reassured, decided it was unnecessary to reply to Emerson's cable or to inform the one man who should have known of the incident, Captain Gustav Schroeder.